KC9VKV, November 4, Echo, Mike.
Mike, good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Good, Jim. Good afternoon to you. The name here is TAG, Tango Alpha Golf, located in the middle of the state of Georgia, just outside of Macon in the city of Gray, Georgia. You sounded really good this afternoon about an S9 plus 10 to S9 plus 20 on peaks. It's been very consistent and very consistent audio and signal. I'm having a lot better luck receiving you on my beverage antenna just to compensate for the noise level, but really good conditions this afternoon, Jim. KC9VKV N4EMM.
Roger, sir. I am copying you at 10 dB above my noise level. We are utilizing this afternoon a 10-foot mag loop antenna. It is ideally aimed 25 degrees, but when you get a larger form loop antenna, it ceases to have normal lobes as it would if it were just a 1 meter antenna. It becomes less directional the bigger the loop, and this is a 10-foot loop, and we are running our world-famous red gold tuning capacitor made out of tin cans for 1 kW. Roger,
Jim. That sounds interesting. I'll have to look for a picture of that on the YouTube page or on your webpage. That definitely sounds like something worth looking into. Well, I've been pretty consistent over the past several months. I guess I've had this rig for 9 or 10 months now, since I bought it. I guess back about November of 18. It's a Yaesu FT-DX3000, and using the DMD1 matching microphone as well. Got a little bit of low cut and not much treble emphasis, but I've had very consistent audio reports and in the positive direction. So I've been pretty pleased with it so far, and haven't had any issues. But just kind of curious what your opinion is. It sounds like you've got a pretty good rapport on audio qualities and whatnot, and definitely several different vantage points on the receive points there. Jim, go ahead.
Roger, Tag. EQ sounds great. I love it. I don't like a lot of bottom end because it tends to muddy out. And when you're trying to copy somebody in the noise, frankly, I want some brightness. I want some clarity to the Clearwater to help me discern the words when it's having great competition with the noise. Roger?
Roger. Very good. Well, sounds like I've still got a fairly consistent setting. I haven't really touched it since I got the rig and used it for 3 or 4 weeks and got a few reports and some opinions from the local guys. So I guess it's the proverbial if it works, don't fix it, and leave well enough alone. So I appreciate the positive comment there, Jim. KC9VKV N4EMM. And by the way, I was looking just searching on the YouTube for the channel. Do you upload the recordings later in the day, or are they actually live? Go ahead.
We usually say we'll have them uploaded within a couple of days from when we record them. So 48 hours after we record, we usually have it up. A lot of times it's sooner than that, but I don't want to say that it'll be sooner, because sometimes we do get busy, and we do this for a love, and we do other things for money, and so push come to shove, you have to make some decisions there. So usually we just say we'll have it up within 48 hours, a couple of days, and that usually suffices. And if we make it sooner, so be it. If we don't, we still usually have always made it within a couple of days. Now on your processing, your EQ, don't change a thing on your EQ, but I have a question for you regards your compressor. Now we do normally recommend that when in our setups that folks engage their compressor at about a 3. Now this is a very token amount, and you'll never hear that compressor working, but it's part of the fattening process. It does its thing. The thing is, I hate to hear somebody's compressor going, yeah, and suck up, and all that stuff, and frankly, they don't know how to run the compressor. I look at a compressor with finesse, and I want it to do certain things, but I don't want it to be obvious, and I don't want nobody knowing that that's what I'm doing. So, what we recommend is that you engage your compressor at about a 3 out of 10. Token amount, but it's the beginning of the fattening process.
Roger, very good. Well, to be honest with you, I haven't even touched the processor compressor in probably several months. I'd be curious to see what it would do if I actually engaged it. To unkey here.
Yeah, Tag, I think there for a moment you might have been getting some RF into your AF. Sounded like that for a moment, then it cleared up right at the end. I think the RF won on that battle. It was very loud and no voice, just oscillation. So you could, there's a lot of different ways of getting rid of RF in the AF. I know I've had it forever. The more stuff that you have tied to your mic input, the more probability, particularly if you're running a KW, the more possibilities of RF getting in the AF. So the more stuff you have tied in, and we've got a bunch of stuff tied into the input and a bunch of stuff tied into the output. So, you have to approach it. I use a lot of love beads, and I do, tell you what else I use. I use a field strength meter. A cheap $14 CV field strength meter. And I go looking for hotspots. I go sniffing around for hotspots. And it's amazing. That's with the KW amp on. That's where you can really see it. And then when you find out what's hot and what's not, you figure out how to move that what's hot away from your audio as best as possible. Roger?
Yeah, Jim, very good. Well, actually, I turned the processor back off because I did notice I had a lot more RF output than I did voice there for a moment when I looked back at it, just as I was letting go and you were replying. So I've turned that back off, and that's probably got a little bit to do with it. But I'm assuming it sounds a little bit better now. Real quick, go ahead.
Yes, sir, and the tonality of it is just fine. I don't think you need the outboard stuff at all. I think you really have it going on right as you spoke just that last time, Roger.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you very much. Well, that's a good thing to hear. That kind of reminds me, if it's not broke, I shouldn't fix it, and I'll leave well enough alone. But I do try to run some of the ferrite beads, but like I said, I'm using a off-center fed dipole, and even though I have an additional balun in the coax line, it invariably gets a little bit of RF back down into the shack. Not a whole lot we can do about that except to keep throwing ferrites at it, but I like your idea of using kind of an old school field strength meter and looking for different hotspots, and I may try that. I haven't done that in several years, so that sounds like a good plan. Well, Jim, thank you so much. I appreciate the opinions and the confirmation that I must be doing something right, and it's, as they say, it's close enough for government work, and I'm going to leave well enough alone. So thank you so much for your time and your efforts, and for the love of the radio and putting in the recordings, and definitely no hurry on uploading. I was just curious if my search engine was looking correctly, because I couldn't seem to find anything in September, but that would make sense since they're not uploaded yet from for this week. But thank you again, and thank you for your time and your diligence and commitment to the hobby there, Jim. 7-3 see you, and thank you again. KC9VKV and 4EMM.
Roger, Tag. The only reason I mention it is that your audio does look a little unprocessed. What we try to do is, unprocessed audio roughly has a 10 dB dynamic range. And a 10 dB dynamic range interpolates into about a 30% of average peak modulation. What we try to do is bring your average percent of peak modulation up to about 3 dB. And when you hit that, then your average peak modulation will be somewhere around 80 to 85%. And that is about sounding about twice as loud as the unprocessed, but very with finesse, because you don't hear the stuff actually working. And the way you get there, and I was alluding to a part of it just a moment ago in regards to the compressor, you might take notes and then think about whether what you want to do, but let me give you the shot there, and you can write it down and then do what you want to do. But engage the compressor at a 3. Turn that compressor just to about a 3, and then go to your ALC and adjust your ALC level to where you're running a mid-scale to 2/3. A mid-scale to 2/3 by turning up your mic gain, if need be, to make that ALC meter deflect mid-scale to 2/3. And that's it, Roger. You already have the EQ down.
Okay, excellent. Well, I've definitely made the notes, and I'm going to experiment with that as you suggested, and I'll try to maybe perhaps check back in with you later in the afternoon, or perhaps next Friday. To be quite honest with you, it's been so long since I touched the settings, I'm going to have to get the book out to get back into the menus to mess with the processor, because it's a combination knob on the F2DX3000 for the carrier level slasher processor. So I just noticed that I can't really vary it from right here at the knob level, even with it enabled. So I'll take a little bit of time and do some due diligence into to setting that as you suggested, and give that a try, Jim. Thank you very much.
Roger, and it sounded like the RF was trying to jump in your audio again. I would go ahead and disconnect your external processing, because if you're, it sounds great just the way it is, and if you're not running it, it's just there collecting RF. So I would remove that external processing stuff, because you don't need it. And there was one other thing I was going to mention. Oh, gosh. Sorry, it slips my mind now. But anyway, Tad, you're doing great there, buddy. And if you get a chance, join us next Friday, and let me know, what's happening, Roger.
We certainly will, Jim, and I appreciate it very much. And again, thank you very much for your efforts and your diligence to the hobby. And we wish you luck, and look for you for the next time. And I'll pass the opportunity on to someone else there, Jim. Thank you so much. KC9VKV and 4EMM.
Roger, I know what it was. I was thinking about the distortion. You might double check your ALC just to be sure you're mid-scale to 2/3. I'm sure it's RF in the AF, but double check your ALC to be sure that you're not overdriving that. That could also contribute to some distortion. 3's there, Tad. Catch you later, man. Thanks for dropping by. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and this is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. We are recording now live till 5.